know what I saw? I feel like my eyelash is coming off. I'm not usually this annoying. Just once a month. We're talking about Love is Blind. This is my third video on the topic. If you want to see the other two where I'm less annoying, I would start there. That's where we talk about episode 1 through 9, as well as some out of context on social media tea. So if you like to see those two videos, I'm a lot calmer in those. I would start there. But this week we are talking about episode 10 through reunion. As of filming this part, we haven't seen the reunion yet, but that will be mixed into this video as well. So when we get to the reunion, you'll see what my reactions are at the reunion part. Hello everyone, this is a very congested ad roll, Kenny, to say that today's video is sponsored by Mistplay, a loyalty app for you mobile gamers. It's a great way to discover new games and also earn points. I don't really like this flavor. How do people do it? How do people get themselves together and go to a concert or something? I have no idea, because I would be in that complaining about my cramps. I just can't do it. I don't know how you guys do it. Can't do it. So, if you guys remember the last time we were here, we were on pins and needles seeing what's gonna happen. Pins and needles, not really. Nothing that happened shocked me, really, but, you know, we were talking about what might happen with this season of So today, we're bringing the goods, the bads, the uglies, the weirdness, and we can all commiserate. Again, if you haven't seen those first two parts, you can do that. I also have a playlist of me recapping Love is Blind and The Ultimatum, because both of them I'm kind of obsessed with, because they're like a little microcosm of like really bad attachment issues and what happens when you put them all together. I will link those down below as well. So, before we get started, another addition to the tea of last time we were here. It would seem that apparently another member also allegedly had a partner before, like, going in or while in the pods, and that seems to be Amber, white girl Amber, the one that also was into Matt for some reason. So there you go. I mean, considering everybody, it seems, this season had a partner, that does not surprise me, and I'm not gagged by that at all. She was barely on TV, so that was a waste of time, girl. That was a lot of work just to be in like 3 scenes. Like, sorry. Anyway, so let's start off with episode 10. If you recall, the last time we were here, Jeremy and Laura were fighting because she thinks that he cheated on her with Sarah Ann, the girl that he was in a love triangle with when they were in the pods. He swears up and down they didn't do that. He just had a really constructive conversation with her that bled into 5 a.m. in the morning, and he drove her back to her apartment when it got too late. But he's innocent. He was just being a good Samaritan. But they seem to have broken up from this, and he goes to talk to his mom about it, and she's like, yeah, no, of course she's upset. Like, duh, of course she's upset about it. I'd be upset about it. What the It would have gone just as bad with me as well. And he's like, I know how it looks, but I didn't do anything wrong, and like, I didn't think I would lose potentially a fiance over it. Honestly, me speaking, I just don't think you gave a because you didn't give a because you don't care. The sense that I get from Jeremy is that he's a very selfish dude, like a very childish, selfish guy. Again, especially if you recall, last time we were here, we got some real life tea, alleged real life tea. But watch that video if you haven't already. Jimmy introduces Chelsea to his family, which is a big deal for him. They're a very cute old Southern couple. And the wife is like, I can tell y'all got that look in your eye. Y'all will love each other forever. They're very cute. Weirdly optimistic, but you know. 80's mom meets Clay. And before he gets there, 80 goes into how his work schedule makes him pretty absent regularly. And it's kind of frustrating because she'll do these cute romantic gestures and he's nowhere to be found to participate in them, enjoy them. It's frustrating. But when he gets there, the mom is like, okay, so what do you do? What is like taking up all your time? Yada, yada, yada. And he says, for the first time that I noted, maybe they said this before this, but he says that he does a bunch of different types of rentals. Like he rents out boats, jet skis, Airbnb rentals. He also works in tech, something. And this thirst for entrepreneurship is what they connected on in the pods. So, okay. But as they sit there talking, they get on the conversation of his barriers with the marriage, which is, of course, this whole foolishness that he talked about a lot before we got here, and we'll talk about even more as we go along, which is how he has a lot of hang-ups about marriage because his father was unfaithful, and he saw that how that ruined their marriage at year 7, even though they kept going for like 20 plus years. Despite that, it tore them apart a lot. His anxieties, I don't know if he ever straight up says it during this conversation because the mom would be like, yeah, but considering we as the audience know that he has this fear around cheating as if he has no autonomy in that, like cheating just happens. It's like a thing that just occurs, and it's something you have no control over and no anything. You just, the stars align and you cheat, whatever. But he talks about how that divorce situation really shook his perception of marriage and all that. And the mom is like, it's not your burden to carry. This is your opportunity to do better than your parents ever did. This is your opportunity to do better than your parents ever did. Figure out the things that your parents couldn't figure out. But Clay seems to be very vocal about how he doesn't think that he can do that. He really doesn't, which is not a great look. Especially when after that, mom brings up how AD had said to her that AD says that she could follow Clay. So where? Where are you going? What do you mean? Because what have we seen that has been particularly indicative of a man who's like a great leader? I guess he works a lot. And sure, like working and providing and all that, that's good. Like, what are you talking about? But the poor mom, she's doing her best. She says very beautiful words. I like the mom, by the way. She's nice. Very wise in, like, her words, how she gives information, how she feels about their relationship, considering I'm sure she doesn't have a quarter of the information that we as the audience have at this point. Anyway, Johnny meets Amy's dad, and if you recall, that's a big deal. She's like, if my dad didn't support it, I don't think I could get married. But it's very cute. They make it all dramatic, like he's not gonna love him, and he loves them, it's fine. And at this point, this is the only couple that I see any promising anything for. So yay, go Johnny and Amy. Quick pivot from the happy couple to a couple that is progressively getting more and more annoying every time they're on camera. Jimmy and Chelsea. Okay. I'm trying to figure out how to encapsulate what this fight was. I say it's the fight where she's mad that he left the house. Because he has the nerve to go to a friend's birthday party after saying, hey, do you want to come with me? And she says no, she wants to stay home. He goes to a friend's birthday party, pops in for a minute, has a drink, says hi to everybody, shows your face in the words of the black community. I'm going to show my face. And then he left, right? He and her agreed that he spent more time driving there than actually being there. He was not gone very long. However, she gets mad because she swears that some of the girls from the pod saw him there, and they're like, oh, like, where your boy's out here, where are you? And so she's like, that's embarrassing. They saw you out and around people. And like, you told me you weren't like a drinker and you didn't like to party. You told me you didn't like to go out. Like, I already knew this, especially after the whole, it makes me feel uncomfy, like, situation. But my God, is her voice grating when she is upset.
How embarrassing. Like, it's very embarrassing.
It is nails on a chalkboard. Just, like, I don't want to be with a person who parties. Like, you told me you weren't like that. I can't do it. She does the, like, Florence Pugh, like, there we go. You told me that it's just embarrassing for people. Like, there's only you weren't a partier. I feel like you lied to me. He's like, what are you talking about? I haven't gone partying. What are you, this is the first time I've gone and done anything that's, like, even remotely, like, celebratory at all. What are you talking about? You're like, I know, but I told you I don't like a guy like that. You said you don't do things like leave the house.
I forgot you were even
I don't know if I want to be with a person like that because you lied to me. And it starts to get so frustrating and so annoying to behold because it's obvious that she's very insecure, most likely from all those things that she honored before that we talked about in one of the parts, I don't remember. So first she starts off about how she's uncomfortable with him having female friends. Like, oh no, I don't have a problem with it because, like, I mean, I'm friends with one of my exes, and he brings it up. He was like, well, you're friends with one of your exes. Like, how is this a big deal? I don't have any, like, sexual attraction towards them. And then she blows up. She was like, you slept with her. And apparently he had slept with one of them one time, and he had not wanted to talk about it on camera.
And you're making a
out of
TikTok?
respect for her because he's friends with her.
You
And she
leave me
was
alone?
seen on
Yeah,
screen.
you leave
He
me
didn't
alone,
want to
right?
put all their business out there like that. And it's like, hey, dude, like,
Shut up.
out of respect for her, I didn't want to do that. And I told you so that you would
I'd like
trust
to have
me
some things
that I'm
to
not
myself.
hiding
You already
anything from you.
can't
And I
leave
told
me
you that
alone.
before we met them. And she's like, but
You
no,
can
it
do
makes
that
me
for- what's he gonna do?
uncomfy. And he's like, well, you're friends with your ex. How can you get
you
mad at
doing?
me? And actually, that's more of a thing because you were like dating before. And she's like, no, you text him all the time. You text them all the time. And he's like, wait, you knew I was friends with these people. I'm not going to give up my friendships just because you woke up one day and it bothers you. And that's fair. Just shut it down. If you had a problem with him being friends with his exes, then don't date him. I feel like, this is me personally, you have every right to say that makes me uncomfortable, and I don't know how I feel about that. But you can't go into people's lives and say, drop your friends. Just not how that works. That's not how that works. You either have to trust them that they're not doing anything with friends, or you have to say, I don't trust you enough to believe that you ain't doing shit with friends. Both are valid responses, I feel like. But you gotta make that decision. That's not his fault for existing around people. Then, when she can't really make any headway with that, she starts to be like, so Jess wasn't there? He's like,
What's wrong, babe?
exactly. No. What are you talking about? Someone said that Jess was there because Jess wasn't there. And she can't honestly say, yes, so-and-so saw Jess there because it's not true. So he was like, so you're fishing. Really? She's just pulling at straws to try to catch him in saying, like, you cheated on me. And he's like, I didn't cheat on you. And then she's like, well, I feel like you don't love me. And he's like, you feel like I don't love you. I'm getting frustrated because this is making me side with a man. Ugh. Pick up your face, Megan. You're starting to piss me off. It's a perfect example of why you need to heal from cheating trauma before you go into something with someone else. Because if you don't, if you remember I said that, what was that, season 3? If you don't, you're going to be super controlling and really in a relationship, and hey, I ain't even doing nothing wrong. And also, this conversation is annoying as So she's like, I feel like you don't love me. He was like, if you really feel like I don't love you after
Don't break my shit.
you to my parents, which is a big deal to me. When I tell you I love you, when I show you I love you, maybe there's nothing I can do. Maybe we shouldn't be together. And if you don't want to be in a relationship with me because you think I don't love you, then I don't want to be with you. And I'm like, okay, that's cool with me because this is getting on my nerves. It's like, I don't know how y'all do this. Also, one of the things I was thinking about as I was watching this like go back and forth, I was like, I don't know if I have the patience for like a real relationship. Because if you hit me out of left field with that I would just be like, I'm not doing this. Like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this back and forth because you woke up one day wanting to start fighting. You do this 3 times. You do it 1.5 times, I'm probably out. I don't have patience for this. Like, you just woke up one day mad. I ain't do like, especially after he's like, all right, I'm getting the out of here. And she goes up to him like, please, don't leave. How you gonna say please don't leave and your dumb ass started to fight? No. But he decided to stay in the house. I wouldn't. But he stayed in the house, but they need their space, okay? Back to Clay and AD. He's still talking about cheating again, and he ends up saying in a conversation something along the lines of, like, he saw recently, while filming the other seasons of Love is Blind, on the show that he's on, he didn't think that perhaps he should watch. He's like, yeah, I saw the other dudes, and they was talking about, like, how much they really want to get married, and I'm like, I am not like them other men, and I feel real embarrassed because I'm not that. I ain't gonna say, why are you on here again? I'm tired. But during this conversation, she says, I have too much respect for this process to continue to date you if you say no at the altar. You can say whatever you need to. Say the best decision for you. Yes or no, I'm okay with it. But I will not feel comfortable dating you if you say no. Fair. Jimmy and Chelsea makeup, whatever. I don't. It's dumb. But one thing that stood out to me in their makeup conversation is that she says something along the lines of, I felt more in love with you yesterday, i.e. during their explosive, really bad fight, possibly the worst fight they've ever been in, than I ever have.
I felt more in love with you yesterday than I ever have.
And this is coming from a who's PMSing. And PMSing Kendall likes a little bit of toxicity. She's a little bit unhinged. That's why I tend to put my phone on Do Not Disturb when I'm PMSing, because I'm going to say something insane. I also delete people's names from my phone and make it just the number, because when I'm PMSing, triggering. I know this. Even PMSing, I said, you sound insane. Well, you sound really, really like you need therapy. It's befuddling. The moment you feel most in love is when you can bring out a certain level of anger and frustration. And she's like, wow, that means you care. It's a bad habit to get into. That's all I'm going to say. And it's mad childish. It's not going to be productive to your relationship. But okay, go crazy. Go stupid. Go crazy. My ADHD also goes insane. We finally have the event. Everyone, or most people, the people that wanted to come from the pods, come together and see each other. This is episode 10. We're just now getting to the party where everybody sees each other. I was like, what? They really held off of it. At this party, everyone asks Laura what's going on with her and Jeremy, and she's like, it's over. Him. In the post-interview, Laura's like, do I like Sarah Ann? No. I think she's selfish. I think she doesn't have any respect for the other women here. I don't think she has a respect for other women in general. But at the end of the day, Jeremy was the one that promised to love, care for me, protect my heart, yada, yada, yada. He promised to be good to me, and he wasn't. So, that's the problem here. He was the one that owed me fidelity. He was the one that should have been thinking of me, and he wasn't. And that's fair. They haven't heard from each other since. Really? I feel like he was fake as in the pods. I don't know what he came on here for, because it wasn't to find love and get married. Bam. Speaking of the devil, here comes Jeremy, a hideous Hawaiian shirt, and he has the nerve, but not something I didn't expect, to play victim about how Laura responded to him being a He's like, sure, was I the bad guy? Yeah, but I don't like how I'm made out to be the bad guy. And I definitely don't like how she responds to me being the bad guy. I feel like she talks to me really mean, considering I treated her poorly. She spins everything I say back, and it's like, obviously you don't want to work on things. Which, in fairness,
I'm looking for a reference, so...
After that, Trevor comes to the barbecue, which, if you didn't watch the last part, is very anticlimactic, because who the cares? He also isn't cute to me anymore. There's something about lying that makes your scalp issues come to the forefront. Ain't nothing wrong with having a little bit of psoriasis, but I don't like you. So I'm gonna call you names. Anyway, Jessica also comes as well. Super awkward, because this is the first time that Jessica and Jimmy are seeing each other face to face. They have a conversation which is a bit overtly flirtatious from her side. Well, he was a little... I think they stayed on the border of being too flirtatious, but were able to take it back, because it's hard to tell, because there's certain aspects of the conversation that's just honest, which comes off as a
You need to stop.
It's hard to tell whether or not that's in the past
Right.
tense or present tense or whatever. I think it's pretty clear that Jessica still has feelings for him, and if he broke up with Chelsea today and said, hey, I want to get with you, Jessica, she would jump on it. It's pretty apparent that that's the way she feels, but she says to him, I want you to be good.
If you don't want to be sit down, you gotta stop.
Why are you saying
Alright,
that?
you can't, I can't hold you and you cry. That's not how it
She makes
works.
him nervous. She's very straightforward in a way that is a little disorienting for him.
Beautiful
But at the end of the
soft
day, you know, if you gave someone even a tenth of what you gave me in the pods, that man will be the luckiest guy. That's nice. And if I were being completely honest, you were still my number one. Now, if you recall, in one of the other parts, I brought up how he said pretty much that around Chelsea's friends. And at the time, I was like, ooh, Chelsea's good with that? But he's consistent. He's not wrong. It does come off that he still liked Jessica more, but he felt pressured by her because she's like, I want you to make a decision. And he was too scared to do this. So he was like, oh, I'll just go with this one. She doesn't do that. Okay. So.
When picking a commerce platform, you have two choices. Or that's the sound of selling on Shopify, online, in person, and beyond. Join the millions of businesses growing on Shopify. Sign up for a
You gotta
$1
stop.
trial period at shopify.com/YouTube audio.
So, episode 11. So this episode is a little bit tense in several directions. Sarah Ann comes. The women there, rightfully so. If you recall, Sarah Ann reached out to Jeremy, knowing he was engaged it doesn't work out, I'm here to talk to you. Not a good look. So that's something I have to deal with also at this party. At some point, Chelsea and Trevor talk, but honestly, I don't give a because if you recall, last time we found out that he had a real-life girlfriend that he co-conspired with to get clout off of this show for some reason. He was also filming one of the other reality shows that are kind of like a spin-off of this show. So I don't give a how their conversation goes at all. Like, it's inconsequential. There wasn't much to say. It's something in the same vein as, like, Jimmy and Jessica's conversation in the last episode. With that said, Jimmy and Chelsea refuse to stop arguing. There's always something. Because Chelsea kind of says a little, like, joke, maybe not so much a joke, about how Johnny and Amy are the strongest couple. Which, honestly, she ain't wrong. But if you Jimmy, that's not the best thing to say to your fiance. Like, those people over there, they're way more in love than us. They're way more solid of a foundation than we are. They're definitely going to get married. Us? Not so sure. Like, it's not a great thing. And he gets a bit upset, and she's like, oh, he's just being goofy. They all are. But, you know, things get notably awkward after that. So, Laura and Jimmy have a very tense conversation. Basically, he's like, well, I tried to send you flowers, and when I asked for your address, you were like, you don't need my address. So, like, you know, I don't like the way you talk to me. And she's like, I don't think you're sincere about anything. I think you're a con artist. And then you're gonna flip it back on me like I did something wrong when you're the one in the wrong here. When she's right. She is a bit, this is just a personality trait, me personally. When I'm done, I don't argue with people. I'm like, okay, yeah, you lied though, but okay, go off, King. God bless. And I walk away. But she's very like, you're not a man. You're go yourself and break your toes on rocks. So, you know, different strokes, different folks. So they're, you know, pretty done. I think it's fair to say. She reads him to filth and she leaves. Great. Meanwhile, AD and Sarah Ann talk. And AD is like, so basically the way I would say, I'm like, babe, you knew they were engaged. You knew they were engaged. Why did you believe at all that the door would be left open? And it's tense. There's obviously, like, AD's obviously coming with a little bit of, little bite in her. You know, she's like, I'm not done talking. I'm asking you a question. A solid friend. Sarah's like, just in his tone, I could tell that, like, things were still open. Like, even when he was breaking up with me, I got the sense that he was, like, not sure. And one of the things that I regret is that I didn't ask, like, are you sure when he was breaking up with me? She says, yes, I believe that he left the door open. And when we had our, like, long conversation, he's like, if you would have asked me that question, I don't know, maybe things would be different. She does say nothing happened, at least physically. He just dropped her off at home. He didn't come inside, nothing like that. And apparently he said to her that he was going to break things off with Laura. Now, I don't know if this is editing, but if we're doing it in the sequence of events as it is shown on camera, this would be that he told Sarah Ann that he was dumping Laura before they had the argument about him staying out until 5:30. They had that whole blow up. He was going around telling another girl that he was going to end things with his fiance, and then he has the nerve to go to Laura and be like, well, I was trying to work things out with you. I was trying to send you flowers. Granted, I was trying to send you flowers after I told another girl I was breaking up with you, but you're really mean about it, and it's not cool. I just don't like the way you talk to me. That guy. And again, last episode, we already know real life, he applied to be on the show allegedly while engaged to another woman, and that was aired out by that other woman's mom. Very funny. Anyway, but AD is like, you contacted him knowing he was engaged. Grimy. That's grimy. Not cool. Not good. That's crazy. That's wild. And things get tense, and you know, Sarah Ann starts to feel a bit on the defensive. She's like, I don't need to be interrogated by you, and blah, 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 whatever. So still hot from that confrontation of sorts, Sarah Ann and Jeremy talk it over. She was like, I didn't think it was weird or bad. And he's like, no, it wasn't. It wasn't weird or bad. And I'm like, you thought it was weird or bad, or funny enough, you told Laura, like, oh my God, I gotta tell her, I can't, you big guy, oh, big mouth. He been a big, messy this entire season. He's like, no, like, what, you liar? Anyway, Sarah Ann's crying, like, oh my God, like, I don't regret it. I'm not sorry. I came here to find love. I didn't come here to make whatever. I'm not sorry.
Stop it.
But he's like, I made the wrong decision in the pods, and he's like, I should have gone with you. And then they go off on jet ski. Too messy together. That's fine. Go ahead. So at the end of that, it's 9 days before the wedding, and the couples do a bunch of cute little activities. I'm only mentioning this because I want to bring up Clay and AD. They were painting shoes. Super cute. I would love to do that. I also just bought, this is a side note, one of my favorite black artists on Twitter just released paint by numbers canvases of their paintings, so you can get them and then paint them yourself. I think me and my friend, I'm going to go back to LA next month, and me and my friend are going to have a girls' night, drink wine, and do it. It's going to be so much fun. Anyway, so that sounds like fun to me. Amy and Johnny are still having conversation about contraceptive, and this seems to be the only thing of conflict that they can show about them, and it's not really much of a conflict, because she's like, yeah, I'm going to get on birth control. Well, that's about it. They do the dress shopping, which I just skim past, because I do not give a but I do think it was cute that AD called her sisters built-in besties. That's very cute. That's adorable. Yeah, they cry, they try on yada, yada, yada. I don't care. And basically at the end, we have Chelsea and Jeremy going on a date, and he ends the episode saying, we haven't talked outright about whether or not you're going to say yes or no at the altar. So we need to talk about that, and that's how the episode ends. So at this point, I decided to have some predictions. Okay, I wrote these down before seeing the wedding. So my predictions at this point was Clay and AD, absolutely not. They're not getting married. Johnny and Amy, yeah, there's no point in wasting our time. Chelsea and Jimmy, really a toss-up. I had no clue at this point, so. Luckily for us, we ended up on episode 12. Chelsea's like, I can see us getting married today. And the way she words that is kind of like, yesterday, wasn't so sure. I don't know if you were having an off day, but yesterday I was like, it's not promising. But today, yeah, I can marry you. But honestly, when you're marrying a person you've known for 2 months, I don't, like, how sure can you be about that person anyway? But I can imagine that's not very reassuring for Jimmy. So he's like, well, I guess it doesn't really matter how reassuring it is for Jimmy, because he's like, yeah, I don't want to get married. I don't want to get married. I think I want us to be together. I want to continue being with you, but I don't want to get married. They argue, they go back and forth, and she's like, I'm so tired. Sorry, I'm so tired of her. I'm so tired of her voice. He's like, we've just had so many issues that are pretty big issues. Throwing my past relationship with my friend in my face, saying it on camera when I asked you to keep that in confidence, because again, I didn't want all her business to be in this show. Like, that's f***ed up. And you did it. And she was like, I know you said not to do that, and I'm sorry. He was like, well, that's a big deal to me. I asked you to keep something in confidence, and you didn't. And she's like, well, what about that time you called me clingy? What about that? What about that? And he was like, you said you didn't think I loved you. Like, that's really fundamental, like, kind of issues, and we don't have a lot of time to figure those out. Like, we're not on great footing right now. And she's like, wow, I guess we're done. And then she leaves the table, and I'm like, okay, I don't care. And with that said, at this point, there's only 2 couples left, shockingly, and only one of them that I think could ever, or should ever, get married. We have AD and Clay, and we have Amy and Johnny, and they have their little bachelorette thing, and it looks really dumb, and I'm gonna skip that because it was really dumb. But yeah, it's the wedding day of 2 people, two couples. I figured they could do this pretty quick because, you know, I'm trying to figure out how much of the Band-Aid I want to slowly rip off or how much I want to just rip it off for you. I will say this, there was a very cute moment with AD's mom coming into the dressing room when she was getting ready, and she was talking about Clay's mom and how they had met, and she's like, oh, that woman is amazing. And Clay's mom is great. Honestly, she was the star of this season for me. I think she was great. She was like, if I could have picked a mother-in-law for you, that is the woman I would have picked for you. She's fantastic. They all do the pep talks, you know, you got this, dude. Yeah, you got this, bro. And they're like, oh my God, I can't believe I gotta get married, you know. And then at this point, honestly, I'm exhausted. And I'm not gonna lie to you, somewhere around here, I start fast forwarding. But there were some things that, even at 1.5 times speed, caused me pause. Notably, AD coming down the aisle. Great. With that said, though, she comes down the aisle, and her husband-to-be, supposedly, says, okay, body.
Okay, body.
And instead of being like, huh? She's like, look at the material. This sounds less like 2 people getting married and more like when I post a picture on social media and the ligaments be gassing me up. Like, yes, body, T, period. Like, cute. It's not a, I don't know, a little body tea per, like, but they have a whole lead up to the inevitable, and I ain't gonna waste your time. Clay says no. Shocker. 80 says yes. They asked her first. 80 says yes. And he's like, I don't think it would be responsible to say yes, which is fair to me. I think you wasted everyone's time coming on this show just to plug your dumb ski, whatever. I don't even know what he was plugging. His Airbnb business? I don't know what it was called, and I'm not going to look it up. So what was the point of all this? I will say, I was really relieved. I was like, don't marry her just because you don't want to look bad or something, or just because you're concerned about how other people might react about it or whatever. The sun is going down, and I am looking backlit as oh no. Ah! Lit by a ghost of past. I was a bit surprised about how people reacted to this so strongly online. I don't know what people wanted. Like, yeah, I guess they wanted them to break up before getting on stage, and they felt like it was particularly humiliating to AD, but this is kind of just how the show works. Like, if you've ever seen the show, this is how it kind of goes. Granted, this season we have more people break up prior to getting to the front. I knew somebody is gonna get up there and still say no. And besides, considering all this said is, I'm gonna be bad to you, I'm gonna do you bad, I'm gonna cheat, I'm really gonna cheat, I don't think you hear me, I'm gonna cheat. I'm like, wow, can I do this? Can I not cheat on you? And she's like, I believe in you. Like, don't. He don't believe in himself. Anyway, she's obviously hurt. She walks off. Again, I know people were upset, but I'm like, given the context, I was so relieved. I was so relieved. I'm like, can you imagine them being married just because